Houston, we have a problem. We're not in limp mode at the moment, but it just went into limp mode and stayed there for about 5 seconds and then popped back out. Of course, the light is now on solid, but yeah, that's something we're going to have to investigate. Not really sure what's going on there. Only slightly concerning is we're now approaching State Highway 1. So we're going to need to figure that out. But hey, with 425, almost 1,000 Ks on the clock, it's a minor inconvenience. Alright, well, we got a wee bit down the road, and we've got the three amigos and the check engine light. And as you can see, we're not too many Ks past where we were when the check engine light came on. So this is going from bad to about normal. We'll have to look at this later. We're going to work, we got to get there, so I guess we'll just see how we go. Yeah. Alright, well, we have a problem. As you've seen, the check engine light came on. We've got the three amigos as well. I'm not going to worry about that for now because realistically the truck will drive quite happily without it. May not stop quite happily without it. We certainly need to fix it. It is a safety issue. Those three amigos mean that we've got no ABS, among other things, and that's pretty important. So we're going to try and see if we can figure out what on earth's going wrong here. So first step, plug the Nanocom in and see if we can actually find some fault codes. We should do. The check engine light shouldn't be coming on without fault codes, so we'll have a look and see what we can figure out, and we'll go from there. Now your car will be different. Mine's missing all the trim under here and the socket's fallen out. That's the Nanocom. Discovery 2. TD5. You haven't used the Nanocom before. They're clunky as heck, but they're about the only option. TD5 engine. Faults. Alright, reading the faults in. Well, that's interesting. It should have been able to. Plug it back in. Yeah, pretty clunky wee computers really, but unfortunately the TD5 engines, none of the standard code readers are any good for these. This is, unless I've missed something in the last couple of years, this is really your main option. There are a couple of others, but this is the go-to for most people for a Discovery 2. I have an IOD tool from a D3, but this is the D2 option. Right, let's go back in, see if we can find anything. There we go. Alright, 10.6, middle lamp drive open load. Let's go find out what that is. Okay, so I've done a wee bit of research, and everything I'm coming up with tells me that this is probably a instrument cluster plug problem. Everything I'm reading is telling me to check between the ECU and the instrument cluster, and a lot of people are saying check the plugs on the instrument cluster. So let me just move the camera a bit and we'll rip into that and see if we can find anything obvious. Basically, we're going to pull this binnacle off now. On this truck it's pretty easy because it's been off multiple times. But if it hasn't, then there's no way on earth it's going to work quite the way it just did for me then. So you've got to pretty much pop the two clips at the back there, and then it should sort of work its way out. Now, to get it off, you have to pull these plugs, and do that by feel. because I've done it before, but you'll figure that out as you go. And the other side. And work that out. You're going to see connectors in the top there. They are seated properly. Okay, so I've pulled that connector. What I'm going to do is throw some contact cleaner in these. Okay. Not sure which of the two connectors they're talking about. I probably could look it up, but these are the two main connectors for that instrument cluster block. So we'll throw some contact cleaner at it, put it back together, and then really all I can do is drive it and monitor it. And if that was the fault, then that's great. If the fault continues to occur, it leaves me stuck on the off-ramp of the motorway again. Well, I guess we'll have to look deeper, but at this stage I'm just going to throw some contact cleaner at those and see how it works out. And Bud's barking, because that's what he does. Alright, I'm using this stuff. It's just the cheap stuff from Super Cheap Auto. I wouldn't use brake cleaner or anything aggressive like that. These are sensitive electrical contacts. You could use like a little acid brush and some isopropyl alcohol. I suspect that this tin is just an expensive container of isopropyl alcohol. But at this stage we're just going to rely on spray pressure. Alright, so that hopefully has cleaned it. What I will do is just seat and reseat them a couple of times just to wipe the contacts. Alright, and then I'm pretty much going to just leave it to evaporate. Once everything's dry, this should evaporate pretty quick. It's pretty warm here at the moment, and once everything's dried out and evaporated, I will plug it all back in. And for now, that's all I can do. But if you've got any clues, if you've got any ideas, if you've had this fault before, 10.6 mil lamp drive open load, if you know what that means more clearly than I do, which would not be difficult, if you know what is probably going on here, if you've got any advice as to how to fix it, then I'm very keen to hear from you. Leave something down in the what's my doodle. Okay, well, there's not much more we can do at this point. We're pretty much going to button it all back up. I'll put the binnacle back on and we'll just drive it and see what happens. The Nanocom, they're not cheap, but the number of times it has saved me having to go to a dealer or even just our local mechanic to plug in their very expensive snap-on computer, which, you know, I would say I've probably paid for that Nanocom in the fees to plug in someone else's computer alone, and that's just on this truck. We have 5 of them, 4 of them are D2s, so you know, it's well worth the investment, I think. If you like to tinker with your own Land Rovers, the Nanocom, despite its obvious interface flaws, you know, it's a horrible piece of crap to use, but it's a very impressive, smart, useful piece of kit, aside from the interface. Hi Bud, thanks. If you watch my vintage radio videos, you'll have met Bud before. He likes to bark when I turn the camera on. Okay, so, yep, nothing more I can do. I'm going to button it up, we'll just keep driving it, see what happens. Anyway, thanks for watching. We'll see you soon for one of the many other little deferred maintenance items that this truck really needs sorted. There's a large number of things which it needs, and it hasn't had for a while, and I'm going to call them deferred maintenance because that's technically what they are. I've basically put off everything it's needed for some time now because other things have been more important, and there's only so many hours in a day. But yeah, we'll get to those. One of the things that I'm potentially going to do to this vehicle is actually throw a tip deck on the back. and we've been interrupted by the clan. It's our new little puppy being taken for a walk along with the other two. That's why Bud was barking. He's excited. Puppy's only a few weeks old and he's learning the ins and outs of being a lifestyle dog. And yeah, he's chewing Ruby's face all the time, which she's not liking, but at least she's playing. Anyway, that might be for another video as well. We'll button this up, I'll throw the binnacle back together, and all we can do is drive it and see what happens. Okay, thanks for watching.